so many teams get caught up in like the unique drafting, but when you're not prepared for it, I think picking comfort is always just a very good strategy, especially coming into a group stage like this, where ultimately you have to have faith in your own abilities. But for now, first objective for Mega is take away some of the insanity that can come out from the side of Vega Squadron, and they've started by banning away the Karthus. Vega, though, taking away some very strong comfort picks of their own. They've limited the Jarvan, they've taken away the Kalista as well. The Taurik will now be banned to follow.
Yep, Karthus certainly a pick for Gadget in the bottom lane. He did play that yesterday, or rather before the break, a couple days ago now. And we do have Taric being banned out for the Taric Sona. You know, a lot of kind of pretty standard picks are rather banned out from the side of Vega towards Mega, trying to kind of limit, I think, some of the effectiveness of G4 in particular, who has been very, very good.
Absolutely has, but instantly we're going to see the first pick, Hecarim, coming in for boss on the top side of the map, showing us the Ignite early. Makes me feel like it's most likely going to go into his hands, but now Rocky instantly going to snap lock in that Rek'Sai. They'll follow with the Galio as well, so some strong engage options here on the side of Mega.
Yeah, Boss has played back-to-back Hecarim games, so it would certainly make sense that it would go up to him, but Ananasik certainly did play Hecarim, you know, in his own region. He has played it in solo queue and so on and so forth, so it could be flexed. If the Kindred comes through, you're very certain that this is going to be Hecarim top in Kindred jungle, but it has not been the option just yet. Rek'Sai Galio certainly does give you some pretty solid engage. You can tunnel in, Galio can ult to follow that back up, but I generally do find you want another form of kind of entry into the fight for the Galio for it to be really effective.
Looking for another primary initiator potentially. Will not have it yet. See what the final option is going to be. G4
Okay.
It's an incredible game on Azir in his second game when we saw him last. Will now pick it up again, but going into a Rise and a Braum. And it feels like this time Vega's crazy, controversial draft strategy is just take stuff that's conventionally really, really powerful.
Well, I mean, we don't know what's going down to the bot lane fully just yet, right? And there are still opportunities for a curveball, but they can play standard, right? They don't only play crazy stuff, so we will see. I am certainly expecting this to be Hecarim top, Rise mid, answered there by the Azir, which we know G4 can play extremely well. He was playing that lethal tempo Azir in his last game on it and did look very good once he did get to the late game. So we'll find out what exactly that is going to look like for him today, but Kindred taken off the table for Ananasik. And I think that the Kennen ban does make sense. Try to protect your Hecarim up in the top lane. You know that both of your soul laners have been blinded. The mid pick was already coming through, so do maybe throw down another top lane ban. Something along the lines of a Jace could also make sense to really try to protect Boss in this 1v1 against Rocky.
And there is, of course, always the room that Hecarim could be transitioned to jungle, but it's hard to imagine it with the summoner selected at this point, but can never count out Vega when it does come to creativity. Jungle picks, though, has been their option. They want to limit Ananasik. See what his lower tier options are, as a lot of the primary choices have been banned away. Jace going to follow the Kennen, so both of the kind of ranged top lane bullies taken off the board.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You know, those are kind of the picks that I did expect to get taken away. You know, it is certainly something that Hecarim can be pretty vulnerable to. I do think there are other strong answers to Hecarim if you want to commit to kind of side lane play. We've seen, you know, even the Vladimir do fairly well last game, but picks like Jax and Fiora certainly can outscale and answer in that side lane, but then you're committing very heavily to side lane play. Galio going to be paired up alongside the Lucian, so Mega still holding Rocky's pick for last, and we'll see if they want to commit to anything too crazy, or if it's going to be something a little bit more standard. Rocky also has played picks along the lines of Victor, which would be available if he wants to go into kind of one of those range versus melee matchups.
And now the Varus will be locked in to go into the hands of Gadget. So the Varus Braum, I like taking away the Lucian with Mega, limiting the Lucian Braum combo, which we've seen bot lanes really just flex a lot on when they have advantage whatsoever. But the Kha'Zix, interestingly enough, going to be the pick for Ananasik. So Hecarim has been committed to the top lane, Rise will go mid, and the Kha'Zix now in the jungle. So as you mentioned, Rocky knows everything that he needs to make an informed decision here. Nara champion we have not seen a whole lot of, but will be selected to go to the top side.
Yeah, and Nara is a very safe champion. It's someone with a lot of escapes. You can farm from range with the Q. Has gotten a number of buffs over the last handful of patches, and certainly I think, you know, is a serviceable top laner. We'll see exactly how well Rocky is going to be able to perform. One of the kind of cool things about it is also the flexibility of builds that Nara has. You can commit to a hardcore split push style build. You know, you can go just Black Cleaver in a tank. You can go Black Cleaver and Frozen Mallet. There's a lot of different options that you do have here. So we'll see exactly where he wants to go. But the Kazakhs, I think, is pretty exciting because there are a lot of options both in the bot and the mid lane for him to attack. A lot of CC there to set him up and to follow up. And Kazakhs from ahead will have some pretty juicy targets. But that being said, if you get to the team fight stage, it is very difficult to play an assassin like Kazakhs into a Galio, because if you ever get taunted up, you are going to die instantly to the damage coming out of this squad.
And watching that taunt and trying to get people to bait it out often comes down to the biggest strategy when you go into those late game fights, but also you're going up against an Azir. You're going up against a Gnar who, while difficult to set up late game team fights, there's always the threat of that big Gnar ultimate followed up by the wall up. In 3 seconds of multi-target late game hard CC will win a game straight up. But that is also going to require a very high level execution from the side of Mega. But this is not the last game. This is not all about late game. You've got early game threats in the Lucian. The Rek'Sai is so strong early on. You've got a Varus on the bottom side. So I feel like we're poised for a much more balanced game in terms of when teams are trying to find objectives.
Yeah, there's definitely not, such a extreme kind of difference on the sides as far as scaling. You can see the
Vega mascot. You can actually hear him cheering. I don't know, man.
Seems very dangerous.
A little loose security, letting the sharks through. All right. Get him a tank.
Yeah.
I feel I'm concerned for his welfare out there breathing air.
He's doing great. You can tell him he's having a good time. So are we. But Mega has drafted, I think, a fairly well-rounded composition. When you are looking at some of the scaling, certainly Azir is going to be the main kind of focus, I think, if you do get to those late game stages. But you have Rek'Sai, a very strong early game jungler, with Galio to set him up. Lucian, Galio, very strong 2v2 lane in their own right. Can be a lot of strength coming out of this Gnar lane here too, which you are expecting Rocky to win with that counter pick. So we'll see exactly where they want to go and also how Vega want to play this out, because this could be done in a number of ways. You can be looking at a 1-3-1 style comp. You can be looking at hard engage with the Hecarim and trying to team fight around this Varus, who we are expecting to go on hit with lethal tempo. So a lot of different options for them to play it out, and I don't think it's nearly as clear cut as kind of what we saw from last game.
No, absolutely not. And the tools are a little bit different as well. I'm personally really have my eyes on Ananasik because he is not a guy that I normally look at to play carries. Often very utility focused, as we see a potential level 1 here, but both sides look like they're going to back off.
Potential level 1.
Potential level 1.
They are potentially level 1.
Well, potential level 1 as in potential level 1 fight.
Ah.
See?
Okay.
I'm cutting corners. I'm putting faith that the audience knows what I'm talking about here. And maybe they'll also know that I'm concerned about Ananasik because he was playing Vi and he was dying a lot in the finals. And now he was going for big aggressive plays, but often they backfired. And Kazakhs, if he falls behind, just does not feel like a very useful champion to this team.
Yeah, I mean, Kazakhs from behind definitely is not the best. I will say, I think Kazakhs from behind probably still better than a Vi from behind. I mean, I guess it's really debatable, but at the very least, you do still have kind of some poke and wave clear with the Evolve W. You can still be pretty annoying with that harass. Vi, obviously, the option there would just be kind of landing the CC, so pretty debatable. But either way, we'll see if Ananasik can get out to a good start, because he's certainly not planning on getting behind, and I do think Kazakhs does have the ability to get ahead. We do see Cleanse taken by G4. Otherwise, you would certainly think he's pretty doomed against Kazakhs plus Rise with that Empowered W, but he does have the ability to escape and certainly has the ability to outplay, now having that cleanse.
Which is always good when it comes to point-and-click CC. Maybe wants to get aggressive here. You see both junglers taking rather defensive pathing. June going to be the first person to contest a Scuttle Crab. Both junglers opting to clear the entire red side of their jungle for the fast level 3. And Rek'Sai now poised to get both Scuttles if he wants, but can instead opt to go to the bottom side. Has been spotted out. Gadget and Santa should know that this is coming.
Yeah, they saw him out of ward in the river clearing Scuttle. If they get killed by this gank, that is not what you want. And I think he could just be waiting in Tribrush, waiting for his tunnel to come back up. I'm not really sure.
There he is.
This is the long con. Like, that is a long cooldown at the early levels. It's like 20 seconds. So he's investing so much time into this, and if they don't actually make this work, then this is going to be a huge waste of time. Now they are looking.
Here he goes. Where's the tunnel going to be? Taunt is going to connect, but instead the flash in. They're trying to follow up immediately. They're going to take down the Lucian. Quick first blood, and the investment pays off, Azael.
Yeah, that was a huge wait there for June, but does make it work. Mega getting that kill, first blood over onto the Rek'Sai, so well done taking down Gadget. I do think that they should have been able to kind of expect that this could be happening. Perhaps though, thinking hey, too much time had passed. He's got to be clearing his blue buff. He's got to be up on his own side of the jungle, but that was very well executed. June tunnels over into Tri-Brush. They had tracked the vision. They knew that, perhaps that ward had been in the river and not in Tri. But that was a huge commitment of time, so that really did have to work. Nanasik was farming during that time, so is up a level, but June going to have first blood.
Now, Nanasik does get down a bit of vision, but June getting that first blood is so powerful, and you just gadget heartbreaking flash there as he gets knocked up either way. And Vega Squadron's bot lane definitely put behind the early game. Not something we're used to seeing in a standard lane for them as well. So going to be a little bit rougher here as the threat of engage gets more and more real as the Galio gets a few levels under his belt.
Yeah, it's always going to be pretty scary, but at the same time, the bright spot is the kill did not go to your laner, right? It did go to the Rek'Sai, so as far as the 2v2, yeah, there's an assist on the Lucian, but really that's not the end of the world, so, we'll be able to see how well they can play it out from here, which should be pretty even as far as that is concerned, and Nanasik up here clearing out those Krugs. June should spot him with the Tremor Sense, and we'll see if they can do anything to punish, but very unlikely.
And Rocky would step down there, but doesn't want to risk anything. The Gnar and the Hecarim both sitting very comfortably in the lane phase. It's a similar story mid lane. So junglers so far really the only catalyst for a lot of early game action. A single Krub camp and that ward right there for Vision. Really the only prize traded in favor for Vega on the back of that first play. But No Man's actually using his pressure well in the mid lane, and while it may not be a lot of life trades, maybe able to get good damage down onto this tower and threaten some early plates for a gold advantage.
Yeah, working with those plates certainly can be very, very effective. I mean, 2 plates is a kill, right? So if you can have enough pressure to be able to threaten that, you are certainly going to be feeling very, very good about your situation. But at the same time, G4 is farming well, and No Man's has already committed to teleport. So, now No Man's having used that teleport to refill his resource, to buy up the tier. He has a ton of mana, so now he wants to try to keep G4 locked under his turret, constantly shove in to try to punish any sort of a recall.
And when you look at No Man's as a player too, he's very lane focused. Very often other players, when they get mid priority, will use it to roam, will use it to set up other lanes, but he's a guy who likes to play Kayle mid. He's a guy that likes to play Vladimir mid. He'll play scaling options and he will play for himself until he can get to a stage in the game where he can just take over. So not surprising to see him really just bully out, really just keep the pressure up and try to just keep these creeps cleared and maybe even look for a freeze in the mid lane.
Yeah, and as a result, G4 did have a pretty good base timing, so he's not really going to lose too much, and No Man's didn't feel that he could actually deny a lot of the minions by pushing, so as you say, is holding a bit of a freeze, trying to deny some that way. But this has bought time for Mega to actually start up the Mountain Dragon. They have full vision control in the river here, and should be able to very easily grab this up. So a nice little start to them. Early 6.5-minute Dragon. Next one will be Ocean, which mostly is kind of, I would say, laning focus, but still going to be pretty helpful for either side to grab.
Definitely. And something that can be especially crucial for a champion like Hecarim playing against a resource champion like the Gnar. And as we look, of course, kind of high stakes for both these teams. We have to remember for Southeast Asia and for Thailand, with the departure of the VCS, even more crucial these days to prove themselves, to prove that they are a top region that can compete at the highest level. And for Vega, while the LCL has proved itself in the past, it has never been new players, new names outside of Cure, right? It was the Gambit players. You heard them talk about it earlier today, where they kind of have a chip on their shoulder. They need to prove that they are, the next generation of talent from the CIS.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think, to a certain extent, they have already proven that by winning their region. But, internationally, you want to make people think about Vega. You don't want it to be just about Gambit, as you're saying. And I think they're off to a good start so far, in the play-in here, starting 2-0, topping out their group thus far. And if they were able to close out the first round robin 3-0, they're setting themselves up very nicely to, likely at least get a tiebreaker, right? It's putting yourself in a really, really strong position.
Definitely is, and we see INTZ on the opposite end of that, but for now, in Mega, winning out here, tying this up, puts it very intense. Every game starts to matter more, and you see a situation similar to our previous group where you had Fenerbahce and Fengbu Buffalo topping out early and very much closing out, potentially pushing to a tiebreaker to end the day. Level 6s, though, now coming in for both junglers, so a lot more kill pressure for the Kazakhs and the Rek'Sai, respectively, if they can find any of these opportunities. Azir using some of that mid lane pressure to lay down a bit of vision, and Rek'Sai just continues to have crab control as Lloyd, I think, just trying to push out with that, maybe looking for a back timing here as he still only has a Vamp Scepter.
Yeah, and pretty nice culling. Gets a lot of harass down on Santas, but he did have a couple potions and the biscuits actually saved up, so we'll be healing back up to full. Definitely trying to push, though, I think, and as you say, be able to perhaps threaten a reset. So far, though, we haven't seen really much of anything from Anonasik besides just farming. This Kha'Zix has not really gotten out on the map. Does look like he has evolved claws for that first evolve, but not positive on that. And we'll see if they can make anything happen here around G4, but June is also in the area.
Cleanse for G4 available as well. Tremor Sense going to spot him, moving back, sweeping him in. They knew exactly what's going to happen there. Here comes the Galio. If they don't kill G4, it's disastrous. Beautifully played. They knew exactly where he was, and they wanted to bait him in. Setup was flawless there from Mega.
And that was so well done by Pop and G4. Not only the ultimate coming through from the Azir, but also Galio already in place at the right time there. June, Pop, and G4 combining for a very well done engage. Sliding around, knocking the Kha'Zix back into the turret. He flashes over the Azir wall, but in comes Pop, in comes June. No man's even lucky to get out of there. Good flash from him to escape the Rek'Sai knockup, otherwise he likely would have died as well. But that is just really good play from Mega, able to respond very easily to the first really attempted play at all from Anonasik this game.
And now for G4 in a position where he can start to match the wave clear more and more, starting to finish that first item as well, so he's happy to pick up that kill gold. And once again, Kha'Zix, you know, still farming well, still keeping with the Rek'Sai overall, but not the terrifying fed Kha'Zix that jumps into your lane and one-shots you and putting him even further away from that state.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised he wasn't really attempting more, but perhaps, you know, worried about what the 3v3 would look like if Rek'Sai did show up.
Maybe a bit of revenge on the Pop, though. You get 2 stacks, 3-4. The concussive blows are massive. They're going to try to give the kill over to Anonasik, and he is going to grab it, so immediate retribution there for the jungler. Yeah,
really nicely done. Pop did have flash, but, you know, not sure he could actually get out. It was very well CC chained by Santas. You know, they get the Braum passive stun, then he uses the ultimate knockup right after that, and by that point, Pop was so low, he likely would have died to the Ignite, so not going to even expend it. And now this means that Lloyd is being pushed back a little bit. They're threatening a potential dive, so going to be zoned out.
Ulti comes out, they're trying to chain the CC onto the Rek'Sai. The Rek'Sai tries to leap to safety, but another kill dropping for Vega Squadron. Lloyd, though, remaining fearless. He sees the Azir's on the way, the Galio as well, but no ultimate for Pop. Means Vega will be able to walk away unscathed, grabbing another kill.
Yeah, that was sick from Gadget. He just nails the ult. I think that Lloyd and June should have just backed up and kind of seeded that because June didn't actually have his flash available, right? He expended that in that mid lane play. So now getting punished for that pretty heavily. We'll see this one more time. Gadget walking forward. This is a 2v3 that's very, very risky to take. If you're already under the turret, hey, maybe you can go for that, but June just too far forward, gets tagged by the Braum, gets tagged by that Varus ultimate and just knocked down so quickly.
And the early game burst damage from the Varus and the Kha'Zix is more than enough in that circumstance. June, of course, with the Warrior, just not tanky yet. And good look overall for Vega. After that play in the mid lane, thought it'd be difficult for them to claw back, but now only at a 300 gold deficit. Mountain, pretty much the only significant objective separating these teams.
I mean, that was honestly really well done. Not only did they get that kill on the river, on the support, they're able to kind of snowball that into a kill on the jungler. They got a turret plate down to that bottom side, and now they're up here trying to use this power to start up the Rift Herald. They've brought up Santas, so 3-man strong up on this Rift, but Rocky is moving down and is close to Mega Gnar, so they would have to be careful about that.
Eyes on the Rage as well as Pop's cooldown on ultimate. Heroic entrance may be enough. Rocky can just threaten with the boomerang. Doesn't pick it back up, though. That is going to make things a bit more difficult. Will come down to a Smite fight. Who's going to win out on the 50-50? Anonasik stepping forward. Smite going to be everything.
Oh,
He's going to grab it in the end. Just barely able to take it away. Don't know if anyone's going to get the objective yet. That is the next big fight. Can they grab the Eye of the Herald? Anonasik, crucial Smite, but Pop waiting, standing. They're ready to go for it. G4 protected. They're going to try to find the taunt onto the Braum. They're going to try to knock him up and take him out. Santa's now running for his life, but he is able to grab the Eye of the Herald. Kill traded for the Herald in the end.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot. You know, just use your support. He can just run it down, grab the Herald. The Braum dying there is not too big of a deal, especially when you realize that Gadget has knocked down 3 turret plates during that time. That is so much gold over on the Varus. And they have the Rift Herald to potentially cash in on a couple more plates before 14 minutes does come out. We'll see if Braum wants to drop it immediately. We pretty much have to run straight to mid lane and just drop it if they want to try to cash in before 14, but I'm not sure if they're going to have enough time.
For now, Lloyd just trying to recoup some of that gold for himself as well as Pop.
He's just going to straight up take it.
It's a hit it. Rocky's going to step forward, but he's just going to get all of that gold. this Varus is going to be so incredibly far ahead, and Ananasek taking advantage of this time of this chaos where it feels like Mega are trying to get back in control to take the Ocean uncontested. Herald drops mid, Santos is there as well, and very much it is Vega dictating the pace of this game. Herald is going to come in just in time to get a few plates. No Man's may give his life in the exchange. They're now trying to retreat, uses the stun. No lockup means he just gets to walk away. The Braum locked up into the tower. Ananasek stepping forward, but won't be able to get anything else as Braum does go down. Gadget throwing some damage forward. The ulti comes out and they disengage. Vega walking away with most of their members, only losing Santos in the process.
Yeah, honestly, really well done from Vega. They just got so much money from those turret plates, and despite being down 2 kills, they're now really just dead even in gold. The Varus is going to be so rich, going back with over 2,000 gold in his pockets. Gadget now 1,200 gold ahead of the Lucian here. This is one more time. The turret aggro not initially on No Man's though, because it was actually on the Rift Herald. He's able to pull out that passive. He roots up June. Santos knocks up June as well, denying any potential knockup and interrupt on that Rise ultimate. So No Man's does get out for free kind of there, and Santos does have to give his life for the cause, but still very well done by No Man's.
Yeah, well played in the end, but also G4, you can tell it's just feeling himself this game, very comfortable going for these big plays. One item already completed, 3-0-0. The Azir definitely the strong point on this Mega lineup, and if they can force some fights on their terms, may be able to put this to good use. But of course, you've got Hecarim, a great side laner, Rise, a great side laner, so may not get the opportunity if Vega do want to try for a 1-3-1. For now, though, Gadget on the top side, pushing into Lloyd here, and of course, 1.5 items completed for both these carries, but the Ninja Tappy, a pretty decent difference.
Yeah, I mean, Gadget is significantly ahead as far as gold values go. He's pretty rich, and it is certainly going to be a very, very strong part of this Vega team fighting. But as you said, G4 3-0, already has his Nashers. We saw how dominant he can be if it gets to the later stages of the game already throughout the MSI play-ins. He's already played Azir once. He dominated in that game, so they're going to have to be very careful about how they deal with him. That being said, there is a fair amount of dive who can actually get on top of the Azir. Azir remains relatively squishy generally throughout the game, so if you can actually get on top of him with the Hecarim, with the Kha'Zix, there is potential to just burst this guy down. And Piercing Arrow from the Varus, you have backline access even if you are not able to be in auto attack range there, so G4 certainly going to have to play well. And
similarly, if Pop goes in, you can't really step back, right?
Yeah.
That's the difficult position, whereas Braum has a little bit of offensive utility and a ton of defensive options. Gallia, once he commits to a fight, really doesn't have a lot of the same options that Braum does, so it feels like a lot of executional pressure on the side of Mega. For now, Vega sitting very comfortably, despite the fact that the gold is even. They are clearly the team dictating the pace. They've taken control of that river. They're laying down vision, and we're just going to have to see what they do next.
Yeah, and I think for now, it seems like they're pretty happy to just kind of wait for some more major items to come through. Rageblade coming in for Gadget would be really big. I don't think you're going to want to commit too heavily to a fight until Boss has that Triforce, which he's going to be relatively close to at this point as well. That is another really big point of power here, but at least threatening.
Yeah, threatening the tower, and are going to be able to grab this tier 1 mid. That's going to open up a lot. Ananasek, though, stepping off to the side. Does have to run for his life, using the ulti as well as the leaf there to make it out to safety.
Yep, we'll be able to retreat, but then it's 5-man top. They're just rotating up to the top turret here, trying to get down that last tier 1. Just ahead on the play, their rotations have been very good. Already knocked down that bottom turret. They just get mid, use the Rise ult to go right up top, take down the third outer of the game. It's now 3 towers to 0. And Rocky's still back in base here, has actually rushed the Frozen Mallet, so foregoing the CDR from that Black Cleaver route will give him some nice kind of kiting potential against this Hecarim, though.
Oh, the Varus caught out, though. Gadget, big fumble. Thought that he'd be able to complete the recall there, and a small victory over on the side of Mega. Definitely behind on the play, but do manage to get a kill back. Maybe they can start to shift things now.
Yeah, Gadget, a little bit of a lazy recall. And honestly, once they were already up on top of him, he was probably just dead regardless. So I think his thought process is probably, well, I'm really close to the recall completing. Maybe it just finishes, and that's kind of my best hope of getting out. But now,
a lot of damage down to June, has the tunnel. No Man's, though, not going to commit a flash to follow. Another tower will drop, so once again, we are straight back to even. The difference, though, 3 towers and a lot of passive vision control in the favor of Vega. But that means more standing gold, honestly, in favor of Mega if they can ever find a big play.
Yeah, and we'll see if it's actually something that they're going to be able to collect in these next couple minutes. The Mountain Dragon going to be coming up again here in about 30 seconds, so they could look towards that. Both of these teams, I think, have decent Baron potential. Rageblade, when that comes through, in addition to the Blade the Rune King on the side of the Varus, you really can knock down those neutral objectives very quickly. Kha'Zix can can punch through that Baron very fast as well. But Azir also some of the fastest Baron takes in the game really available from him.
Will they have the time to set it up? Of course, we're still very early in the game overall, still a few minutes away. Dragging the next big objective, as you mentioned. For now, vision control very much in the favor of Vega. See if Mega want to commit enough members here to kind of force this out, try to bully some vision control. But Gnar still on the bottom side, still trying to push in the wave, means this is very aggressive from G4. We'll be able to back off safely. Just kind of waiting for a big engage from either side. And honestly, meanwhile, just going to sneak into the back of the pit and take this. And Mega might know this is going on, but they're going to have to commit very aggressively to a fight here. Mega Gnar is about to expire, so this would be pretty disastrous. 15 seconds on the debuff before Gnar can start to stack Rage once again. So they will retreat, and a Mountain Drake going over essentially uncontested to Vega.
Yeah, I think that was honestly really well done. Vega just kind of controlling vision in the area. They used their 4 members to just zone, essentially, kind of cutting off those corridors. It would have been really hard for Mega to walk through those kind of small corridors against champions like the Varus and the Braum, the Ryze, who can kind of throw down a lot of damage as you're trying to enter into that Dragon Pit. So Anonastic just able to pick that up quite easily. A second Dragon does go their way, and certainly increasing their ability to take that Baron when it is coming up. Don't think you're going to be trying to do any sort of 20-minute rush or anything along those lines, but going forward into the game, Mountain plus Ocean, not only do you have more durability and regen to be hanging out around that pit, you can also burst it down a lot more quickly.
Absolutely can. And now Varus has completed the Rage Blade. You talk about how huge of a spike this is for his damage, and also a spike to his Baron taking potential as well. Have to wonder, though, not far enough ahead or late enough in the game that I feel like they can just go for it in a 50-50, 5-on-5, but definitely something Mega have to be aware of from every point here on out.
Yeah, especially not without a true tank, right? If you don't have a true tank, you do take a lot of damage from Baron. It is very risky at this point in the game, so nothing they're going to go for it just yet, I don't believe, but Rocky working away towards that Black Cleaver, so it is more of kind of that side lane style of build, and if he is able to start winning in the side lane against Boss, that has really just been kind of a farm lane thus far. But when you do have the Black Cleaver, that in combination with the Frozen Mallet, you have much more ability to actually chase down and kind of get these long extended fights against the Hecarim, where you perhaps can start to look to threaten, to get pressure there, and try to then use that to attack turrets and draw more members down.
It's been a long time since we've seen the Black Cleaver Frozen Mallet Gnar, of course. Just so incredibly oppressive. Weaker than it once was, but still something that Hecarim might struggle with. We're going to get to find out as the game continues.
Yeah, also interesting to see Lloyd going for Essence Reaver second here, Blade of the Rune King into the Essence Reaver. This is much more of kind of a scaling style of build compared to the Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver is already going to be on the Gnar. There's not a lot of tanky stats on the side of Vega anyway, so there is going to be kind of higher DPS build coming out here with the Essence Reaver because it has that additional crit, has the same amount of CDR, high AD, and obviously you're getting some mana back too. But it is a bit of a slow build as you're going into this. Now you're going to need a seal, then you're going to want your IE. At that point, it's pretty late in the game. But it does scale very well and can make Lucian a huge threat in those late game fights.
Do you remember when we were talking about how there's no way that they would try and sneak a Baron? Well, you said that. We said it 20 minutes.
Very risky.
It's 22. Very high risk. They are going to start it up. They're going to bait out a little bit of vision. And they are immediately going to back off. So you can tell that they're kind of just fishing at the opportunity.
And I think that wasn't really a serious attempt either way. You could see that the Kha'Zix is actually doing Raptors, right, while they were starting that up. So I think, if anything, in Fog that they could maybe see some of those kind of animations coming out. Maybe you can force them in to check, and in that position, then you maybe turn for a fight, right? Maybe you get a kill off that. So I think that was more them fishing for a pick than a serious attempt at actually taking the Baron, because you're not going to commit to it without your jungler.
Well, luckily Mega don't fall for it. Are just going to be able to drop down a bit of vision, trade that back. Kha'Zix now on the top side. Very strong here with this Dustblade. Could look for a 1v1 kill and is immediately going to go in onto G4. G4 going to try to dash to safety, throws him back to the team, is going to go golden here. Now trying to buy a bit more time with the stopwatch. No Man's looking for the kill, has to flash and heal to make it to safety. Lloyd protecting his mid laner there. Rocky TPing in as well. But what for? There's no fight here to get kicked off. Just giving Vega so much respect.
Yeah, you're just nervous, I think, that they were going to continue chasing onto G4, but they get flash out of G4, heal out of Lloyd, TP out of Rocky. Now Vega starting this, kind of more of a serious attempt here.
5K
June is around.
Have to back up. I have to give a decent amount of respect. Rocky as well, stacking the Rage. A Mega Gnar here would be disastrous.
And just poking away at the Baron, one of the big things that does is actually buys time for Boss, because G4 was scared to go down to the bot lane because if he shows there, hey, maybe Vega actually commit to trying to go onto that Baron or look for a turn. So they do get the tier 2 bot because of this Baron pressure that they're putting out, but No Man's now very far out on the map, looking like he could be picked off.
Realmorph is going to come out there, going to try to fish for the knockup. They're not going to get it. The flash forward. That has to feel bad from June. Well played by No Man's.
Yeah, No Man's gets the root down right at the same time as June actually flashed forward. And that was a split-second difference on whether or not the Realm Warp would complete. No Man's getting out. That is the flash down for Rek'Sai. Really the only true way to get consistent engage from this champion is the flash, so that sucks.
That's absolutely brutal. That's the second time that No Man's has gotten out of what feels like an almost impossible situation. The first being that tower dive in the mid lane. And Rise, 0-0-0 definitely doesn't feel like the most impactful scoreline, but No Man's has been everywhere on the map and is only continuing to get stronger as he has both the Roa as well as the Saros.
Yep, and perhaps working towards, it could be Rylai's, could be a Void Staff next. We'll have to see where he actually wants to go. A lot of options still there. He is actually spotted out by the Tremor Sense, but No Man's just barely able to get out that flash a split second too late. No Man's really nicely done, and there's going to be another Mountain Dragon now going the way of Vega Heroes, and Anasik and Boss able to take that one down, further increasing their Baron threat.
And increasing the side lane threat from Boss on these towers. Already shredded so quickly through a tier 2 with that Trinity Force. It looks scary and scary. Rocky may just think that he has the 1v1 matchup here, but Anasik the potential to jump in and engage. Now Rocky just staying in the brush. Kha'Zix is going to move forward, stacking up that rage though. Is he going to see the Kha'Zix come in, trying to leave out of safety? The Galio ulti is there. Burning a major cooldown for Pop in exchange for just the ulti and the ignite on the side of Boss.
Yeah, it didn't look like the Hecarim ultimate actually connected. I'm not sure if that was just something where the Gnar jump got buffered, but looked like he actually did miss, and now Anasik being jumped on by Lloyd.
Lloyd wants to get a little bit more. Another dash forward. The Culling comes out, and Anasik taken down. Jungler's missing, but the TPs are now coming in. June going to look for the knockup onto Boss. No ulti available, and they know it. Gnar is coming in. No rage stacked yet, however. And they will just disengage. Use the Var Assault, use the Piercing Arrow, throw down a bit of poke, and walk away. Vega are going to make it out of that one, but do use the TP.
Yeah, nicely played by Lloyd, getting that pick off on Anasik. He didn't have ult, he didn't have flash, so no real way to actually get away from that Lucian, who does run him down and take him out. So well played there by Lloyd. Mega certainly have been the ones winning as far as the kills do go. They're winning a lot of these fights, but
Pop going to land the one-man taunt. The dash forward from Braum, though, is going to interrupt his escape. Lloyd now throwing down a little bit of damage here, but no ult, no Blade of the Rune King active. They will back off. So once again, small victories for both sides here.
Yeah, and Vega has just been coming out on top much more as far as the neutral objectives are concerned, right? It's 4 towers to 1, 3 dragons to 1. They're the ones who got the Rift Arrow. They're the ones constantly baiting around Baron and playing around Vision better. But Mega are still kind of scaling up. They have this Azir getting very, very strong. And here this is one more time. Lloyd lying in wait there for Anasik, who just cannot get out. The culling to finish it off. Very well played here by Lloyd. And then the TP coming in from Boss does force Lloyd to flash out. But I wonder if he had actually stayed around and committed to that, could Mega have maybe taken a fight? I'm not sure. It would have been perhaps difficult to commit into that. But G4 was available with the ultimate, and that was a pretty good corridor to fight in.
And you have to wonder if there are some nerves on the side of Mega. We saw that TP earlier where with Rocky coming in. You now see the flash out as well, where they're giving maybe too much respect even to Vega. In these clutch scenarios where they might need those summoners later, they're willing to commit them just to keep the team safe.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you don't want to be the person who loses the game for your team, right? You don't want to be that guy who gets caught and gives over Baron. And as a result, it is staying fairly even, fairly slow pace as far as the fights are concerned. But G4, closing in on that third item, he is looking very, very strong on the Azir. Level 14 now at this point in the game. So G4 will have a chance to really take over in the team fights. And Azir can be a game changer, despite the fact that he is, getting kind of out-farmed by No Man's, who's playing so heavily in the side lanes. He's keeping pace very well and still has those early 3 kills to his name.
Yeah, in a very solid position. Of course, we talked about it earlier. It feels like a little bit of the burden of execution in the late game team fights is on the side of Mega, keeping that Azir safe, finding that opportunity for Gnar to move in. Gnar for now focusing on farming the Gromp will return to the bottom side. Both side laners, I think, just trying to get as many resources as they can before a big fight breaks out.
And it's also really tough, for Vega to actually fully get Mega to commit to checking into that Baron, because Rek'Sai is actually so good with the Tremor Sense you can be constantly poking away with that Prey Seeker Q, checking if they're starting the Baron, using Tremor Sense to see if anyone's moving around in any of these bushes. So they're doing a good job actually delaying and buying time and constantly being able to kind of get access to at least ward over into the pit and make sure that Vega isn't sneaking this down, because while at 20 minutes it was pretty risky for them to start it up, at 30 minutes, Vega could be punching through this Baron so fast with double mountain to your name as well as Kha'Zix. That could be going down in a hurry.
And for now, it's a very, honestly, slow-paced, very respectful game of League of Legends. No one is going for crazy plays. It feels like they're following kind of the fundamental rules of taking Baron, right?
Fundamental rules of Group B.
Fundamental rules of Group B, fundamental rules of taking Baron. Slow and steady wins the race. Come on, we've all read that one. Tortoise in the hair.
Which one's the tortoise?
Well, it's two tortoises here, so that's really the question. In a battle of two tortoises, who comes out on top?
Tortoise?
That's the question.
It's the tortoise that has a little engine on his back.
Rocket tortoise.
Yeah. Hit the knots.
Vega or the rocket
diesel
tortoise. Triple X is getting weird these days. That's all I'm gonna say. They're really scraping by for plots for Triple X4. And now, I mean, honestly, just looking for the Baron setup, looking for the vision, looking for picks, and it feels like eventually one team will misstep, right? This is kind of the game that they're playing, is someone will misstep, someone will overstep. You can see Anonasek saying, hey, there's a ward right there. You want to come clear that out? And when they do, there'll be a Kha'Zix in their face.
Yep, and they can go to clear out this vision. The dragon has spawned once more, so Anonasek could look to actually just solo that out in the meantime. That has kind of been the game plan thus far. We'll see if he wants to head down to that bottom side or if they even care about that second Ocean Dragon. The one thing you always have to kind of worry about a little bit is if you're willing to kind of handshake on going this late, the game is very often decided by one team fight, right? You know, if you're getting 35, 40 minutes, you know, even at the 30-minute mark, if there's a decisive team fight, the game can just end. And we just did see that in the last one for INTZ. You know, they get wiped in one team fight. They still had all their tier 2s, and the game ended.
Absolutely. And with the amount of Baron threat we talk about, there's also just a ton of pushing threat here with the Hecarim, with a Varus. Same is true on the opposite side with an Azir and a Lucian. The power to shred through towers the second you have any kind of advantage state is very real. G4 stepping forward there, and Anonasek gets a bit of poke down, but not wanting to commit. And this does feel like a bit of that handshake you're talking about. Neither team and no player wants to be the one to throw the game, so no one is aggressively pulling the trigger here.
Yeah, I will say it feels a little bit weird, though, to kind of look at Rocky and how he's playing it out and look at his build. You know, it feels like it's very much committing to that split push style. You know, he's going GA third item. This is heavily building into damage. But yeah, he's not really pressuring. He's not really trying to push up. He doesn't have the confidence or vision, perhaps, to do so. So maybe Mega needs to kind of play more around that. But Vega have started up this Baron. You can see those animations in the pit.
No Man's here, 2k health. Can they find a way in? June is nowhere near the Baron. They're just immediately going to burst it down with the Anonasek. Avoid firing the Coaling, but just well played by Vega. They are finally the ones to break the stalemate, to break the handshake, and to go for the aggressive Baron.
Yeah, they take that Baron. They are able to zone out June. He was not in range to try to steal that, so they just complete the take. Anonasek able to secure that one, and Vega, without really any sort of serious conflict, are able to just take this. You know, Rocky now very likely going to be forced to actually kind of group more to meet with that team, despite the fact that he is building more for the split push. He's not been able to get any significant advantage there. Boss has been fine in that regard. It's just kind of been a farm lane up in the top side. We'll see if Mega can make any sort of big plays, kind of get this back in their favor. Otherwise, you feel like Vega is going to start knocking down tier 2s, going to start knocking on those inhibitor towers with this Baron buff.
And forcing the entire team to split up as they start to break open the map. You got Boss on the bottom side, No Man's on the top side, Braum bars in the mid, and Anonasek most likely set to roam between the lanes. So Mega may not get the comfort of a full-on 5v5 team fight if Vega just keep pulling the map out like this. And the next 2 minutes and 20 seconds are going to show us a lot. If they break open an inhibitor, the game just feels so heavily Vega favored. If they can stall, if they can hold on, maybe it becomes a different story.
Yeah, definitely the case. I mean, it does get very difficult when you're already kind of losing pressure on the map. If you also then lose the inhibitor, and you know, top tier 2 getting pressured, mid tier 2 getting pressured as well. Rocky did push out bottom lane a little bit, but now kind of roaming up to try to group with the team. No Man's has this very, very low, and it will feel like a lot of the onus is on G4 to kind of make something happen. Yes, you can send in June and Pop. Yes, you can send in Rocky and Pop, but they have not really been able to find too much, and you almost feel like it has to be a Shurima shuffle to make something happen.
And that's such a high-pressure scenario to be in, because in the early to mid-game, it's kind of acceptable. But when you're such an important late-game damage source, if you put yourself in the line of fire by trying to engage as an Azir, that is high risk.
It definitely is, but it just doesn't feel like anyone else on the team is really making those moves and making those plays to go for it. And you can't afford to just sit back forever. So we'll see if they do decide to kind of pull the trigger. And Rocky does have flash available, so he could try to go too.
And Gadget did just whiff the ult, so small openings kind of generated by the lack of cooldowns there. But with all the flashes up and available for both sides, looks like do not want to pull the trigger on the side of Mega. And for Vega right now, they are just steadily accruing a gold advantage. I mean, they have double mountain, double ocean. They're sitting very comfortable in this game. The later it goes, it feels like the better it is for them in terms of the value that they get there. Of course, always have to respect the Azir, but Kha'Zix's going to be truly terrifying in the fights to come, and I feel like 6-item Hecarim is just honestly easier to play than trying to get value out of a Gnar in the late game.
Yeah, you know, Gnar is more kind of high variance, it's certainly fair to say, but if you do hit that big Mega Gnar ultimate, you can win the fight, right? If you can actually stack up multiple members there for the Azir to AoE through, that is going to be absolutely huge for them. But my concern is certainly more about the fact that Mega has been, it feels like, pretty willing to just kind of cede control over a lot of this. And you know, it's not just that they're getting pushed in, it's that they then lose control over a lot of the jungle. You can see more and more of that farm will be going the way of Vega as they kind of walk through, you know, farm up more and more of these camps, and are happy to just continually 1-3-1 and kind of take this very, very late. Varus is nearly full build at this point, sitting on the 4 items. Lloyd working towards what likely will be the Infinity Edge, but that is going to come in quite late.
Will be difficult. Maybe that gives them a bit of extra damage edge, but it's tough for Mega because this is the second time we've seen them be willing to concede a lot of pressure, be the team where it feels like they have the tools to be proactive and not use them, as same as it was in the detonation-focused me game. Now, they're not against, you know, the Nightmare Chaos on Atarek, so it's not a guaranteed win if it does come to team fights, but also it feels like Vega are just a team who understands what they need to do to win right now and are not going to give the grouped up 5v5 opportunity for any of these players to really play to maximum effectiveness. And
to their credit, you know, Mega played a similar game in their win against INTZ, right? Where Shinny was actually making a lot happen on the Gragas for INTZ. You know, they were feeling like they were ahead a lot of the time, and then it hit late, it hit, you know, Azir getting, you know, 3-4 items, and all of a sudden G4 just completely took over. But Elder Dragon now on the map, so that is another neutral objective that is very, very important, and that Vega can force their opponents to come out and fight them over, because you know, this is a 4-Dragon Elder that you're potentially giving up, and Mega, you don't really want to be facing that down.
And they need to pull the trigger now if they're going to do anything, because the Elder is now gone. Now they need to run, and Boss is going to be the one to chase him, trying to find an opportunity to go in. The flash forward is not going to hit anybody. Santa's burning the ult, but flash back in respect from Lloyd, and things only get harder here as ALS 4-stack Elder Dragon, uncontested completely, and this late in the game, No Man's with a death cap can just solo it.
Yeah, he's able to kill it so easily. The Elder doesn't have that damage debuff that Baron does, so you can actually solo it very, very comfortably. It's not really difficult to do whatsoever. And the biggest problem here is that next Baron is up in 45. They're going to have this Elder Dragon buff for the next 2 or so minutes, so they certainly can use this to secure their next Baron as well, which could then be used to try to crack the base. It just gets harder for Mega. If they can survive this Elder into the next Baron, then maybe they're set up well.
Oh, G4
my
caught
God.
out. Oh, that's so much damage. G4 just running. He knows he's already dead. Uses the stopwatch, trying to buy a bit of time. Galio not even get a chance to push ulti to come in and try and save the day.
First mistake, it feels like, for G4, but when you make it that late against a death cap for Elder Rise, you are going to just die instantly, and now Rocky going in.
This may not be the best time to go in. Still has the buff pop, though, coming in. They're going to try to commit multiple members to kill Boss to stop anything else from being threatened. The rest of the team barreling down mid lane. Ulti comes out, but the taunt still connecting. TP now coming in from the Rise. They're ready to turn this. Boss might just chase down on a pop here. Is going to move in. Realm Warp now coming, ready to deliver that Rise. He's going to do so much damage. They lock up Pop. Pop now set to fall. The rest of the team escaping, but the rest of Vega Squadron rotating in. The Nars GA is going to be burned. Pop running to safety, but the rest of the team may just get chewed to pieces here. No Man's cuts through him. Another one's going to fall. Gadget flashing forward. Absolutely fearless. The knockout comes out, but it's too little too late. Shut down onto the bars, but the rest of the team absolutely routed. Lloyd taken down next, and Vega poised to end the game.
Yeah, that should do it here. G4's up in a couple seconds, but it's got to be a miracle from him to try to stop Vega.
And Vega forcing things on their term throughout this entire game. For a few moments, it felt like Mega might have had the advantage, but the rest of the game, the push back into the fountain is going to do a decent amount of damage, but it's too little too late. Vega get to end the game on their terms. One pick into a forced fight, and they are able to close it out. Vega 3-0 in the first round robin.
Clean sweep in that first round robin here for the CIS squad. Looking very, very good, but certainly some criticism has to be levied towards Mega. It really felt like such a half-hearted attempt at an engage after so long of sitting back and giving up everything. Why is that the opportunity that you were looking for? Why are you engaging in when they still have the Elder active? It just doesn't make a lot of sense from that point of view, but credit to Vega, drafting well, playing to their win conditions. They were slow and steady certainly throughout this game, but if your opponents are going to give you every dragon, are going to give you full Baron control, are going to allow you to farm their jungle, you don't need to force anything. Why play risky?
Rocket Tortoise.
Rocket Tortoise.
That's all it takes sometimes.
Vin Diesel Tortoise at Nas when they picked up the Elder.
Yeah, just absolutely destroyed. And you can see that the opposite side, Vega knew when they were strong. They knew when they had a big enough advantage just to end the game. No Man's just waited. He said, if probably anyone walks up to that bush, he 3-shots him.
Yep.
That is a super fed rise on top of a true damage buff. It just feels like it was impossible for them to get any edge there. And more credit to Vega that they just split up the map and said, hey, once you give us this opportunity, we're actually never going to give you another chance once we make it out of the mid game to fight a full-on 5v5.
Yeah, definitely the case. And, you know, there's definitely a lot of, I think, questions kind of be answered from the side of Mega. You know, Rocky as well, you know, going this full split push build. That last fight that lost them the game was the first time I saw him doing really anything aggressive in the entire game, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not actually playing for much. And here is the tail end of that engage as they did go for it onto boss. No Man's responds with the teleport. The rest of the squad was already in mid lane, wraps around very easily taking this down. You know, the rest of the Mega squad wasn't even involved, and their strongest member, G4, was dead during this. So, you know, not really much hope of that ever working out.
And it feels like one of those scenarios where you cut off the head of the snake and the body dies, and that feels like G4, the second he was gone, the team just lost any kind of composure. You suddenly got a random engage. You saw Rek'Sai running away from the start of that play. What was very much the last fight of the game, while the rest of the members are getting caught out. And it feels like when the pressure was on there, they just fell apart.
Yeah, it really did feel like a lot of desperation in that final engage. And yes, you want to try to get a pick on this Hecarim who's off in the side lane. You feel like everything's kind of spiraling out of control. But your Azir is dead. Hecarim has ultimate. It's so easy for him to just kind of walk out of that fight as he did. And they get punished very heavily for that engage. But credit to No Man's, he was player of the game, playing very well on this rise. I think his side lane play was certainly critical in buying them enough time to farm up and buying them enough time to kind of always get vision around these objectives, farm those dragons, farm the Elder, the Baron, and slowly kind of crawl their way to victory.
And he completely shut down two of the most aggressive plays that we saw from Mega, and it felt like outside of that, there was maybe only one or two other instances where they were willing to play aggressive, both of which were one of which was in the early game, and the other one ended the game against them. So brutal game for Mega, and after that break, Mega has to shake off that loss because they're going up against Detonation Focus Me in Game 3. Huge stakes as we move further in the day. We're going to see if they can step up when we return.